The MG4X sounds like it should be the SUV brother of the MG4 Urban. Maybe something front-wheel drive, lower cost, and built to come in at a cheaper price. But this car turns out to be something very different. It is essentially a redesigned MG S5, also known in some overseas markets as the MG ES5 or S5, with key updates where they matter most. Before we get into the details, please subscribe to RLC Auto channel and press the bell icon, then set it to all so you receive notifications first whenever a new honest, unbiased car review is uploaded. From the outside, the biggest change is right at the front. The previous MG S5 design was already clean enough, and there was no major problem with its styling. But after its release, rumors suggested the headlights would be changed, and that is exactly what has happened here. From the split line forward, the car has been redesigned, with new headlights and a revised front bumper giving the MG4X a fresher face. But everything behind that point remains heavily linked to the MG S5, including the metal body structure, the white body, and the expensive parts that would have cost much more to change. So this is not a completely new SUV from the ground up. It is more like a focused redesign with the biggest visual changes placed where people notice them first. The question is whether this new face feels like an upgrade, and honestly, the answer may depend on personal taste, because the original look was already acceptable, while this one simply gives the car a newer identity. Inside, the MG4X takes many of the improvements seen in the MG4 Urban and brings them into this cabin, especially in infotainment. The MG4 Urban may be the lower-cost version of the MG4, but technology moves quickly, and its infotainment setup was actually an upgrade compared with the older MG4. That same bigger screen has now been carried over here, giving the cabin a more modern feel. The more important change for the driver is the instrument display. In the earlier MG S5, the setup was criticized because it only had a color LCD in the center, almost pretending to be a full-width digital display. Now, the MG4X finally gets a real full-width, full-color instrument display, and that is a very welcome improvement. The passenger seat also receives a meaningful upgrade with front lower leg support, and it extends far enough to make a real difference for the person sitting there. This may sound like a small detail, but for buyers where the front passenger has influence in the purchase decision, it could matter a lot. The car also keeps the right physical controls, including mirror adjustment on the lower side of the steering wheel, physical air conditioning controls, physical controls for the sunblind, and even a rear wiper, which are all things that should never really be missing in a practical SUV. Performance and driving experience. Dynamically, the MG4X should feel the same as the MG S5, because changing the driving hardware would be expensive, and that is actually good news. In its class, this is described as the best car to drive, mainly because it uses rear-wheel drive and a 5-link independent rear suspension. That setup is much more sophisticated than some rivals, including the Leapmotor B10, which is also rear-wheel drive but uses a 3-link rear suspension, and the difference is noticeable. This is the kind of hardware that helps a smaller SUV ride like something larger, calmer, and more expensive. For the Chinese market, it has advanced phone mirroring with full functionality at 60 frames per second, while overseas markets get Apple CarPlay, and now even Chinese users finally get CarPlay as well. So the real value question will depend on where MG positions the 4X. The strongest pros are clear: rear-wheel drive, 5-link independent rear suspension, a better infotainment screen, a proper full-width digital instrument display, useful physical controls, CarPlay support, and a more comfortable front passenger seat. The main drawback is rear cabin space, because compared to something like the Leapmotor B10, the MG4X is slightly smaller in the back, and buyers in this segment, especially those who care deeply about rear seat room, will need to sit inside before deciding. But if the space works for you, this is easily one of the strongest driving choices in its class, with the kind of ride and suspension quality that makes it feel more mature than its size suggests. So the final verdict is simple. Check the rear cabin first, and if it fits your needs, the MG4X stands out as a compact electric SUV with smart updates, proper controls, and a driving setup that gives it a serious advantage. Now watch the next end screen video for another honest car review from RLC Auto channel.